get a bit sick of having the same argument all the time with people online, on forums, or generally internet people who haven't got a clue what they're talking about. And you always get this thing about certain type of photographers who believe that there's some kind of a limit to photography, and anything that's outside classic 80s film photography, digital photography, HDR, anything basically new is not true to photography in a way. The image has been doctored, or the image has been messed about with. But I just try and debunk it now, because I think we have a kind of an instinctive vision for certain things. The predator in the forest looking at you, the eyes staring at you, like this one. The eye staring at you through the trees, or the snake or the spider. And I think you've got an instinctive vision for these things. But most things that you see in the world, I think you have to learn when you're a little baby. You have to learn what you are seeing. Just as you've got to learn to use your arms and legs, you have to learn to use your eyes and to interpret what you're seeing. And when people say it's not real, it's not a real photography, it's doctored. And that makes me think of one of Monet's pictures. He did one of his pictures, and it was the first time that anybody had, either Monet or Pissarro, not quite sure. Well, I think it was Monet. And he did the shadows of his pictures in purple. And before that, people had always done shadows in dark grey or brown or black, but he did them purple. And ever since then, because he said sometimes shadows are purple, now people see purple shadows, whereas before they didn't. The same with a tree trunk. You know, a tree trunk, he kind of conditioned, learned to say, oh, tree trunk brown. But if you look at it closely, it's made up of all different colours, greens and yellows and browns and everything all mixed together. I've heard as well that in ancient times they could only see in a certain amount of colours, not as much as we see today. And that's what I think is that the cameras, when they get more and more sophisticated, and when the pixels on the sensor, when they get as small as the receptors in your eyes, which is about 400 nanometers, which is about the size of the waves of light, and the receptors are the same size as the waves of light. So when you get your little pixels in your camera a billionth of a meter big, that's when you're going to start approaching what the eye sees. And when we get the level of exposure that we can see, stops of exposure we can see from lightness to darkness, we see it all in one go. But with a camera, if you point it at the sky will be bright and the stuff around will be dim. If you point it at the dim bit, you look up at the sky and that'll be whited out and the dim will be clear. But eventually these stops of exposure will increase and increase till the camera can pick up the same level as stuff that your eyes can. And then the camera will teach us how to see more correctly. It will teach us the wonder of our own eyes. And when I hear people condemning any new form of photographic technique which takes us forward, I always think they're just Luddites and they haven't thought about what they're looking at. They haven't taken the big picture, and they're not thinking out of the box. They're not thinking out of the camera obscura. Now let's just think about some high high quality audio equipment, very good speakers, very good microphones. And if you planted a speaker in a room somewhere, and then you had a human voice speaking on that speaker, you could quite easily fool someone into thinking there's a real person behind the screen. They'd look and say, oh, somebody's behind there. And we've got that level of technology because the amount of information in an audio signal is relatively small, and the information in a photograph or a video signal is very big. But eventually, when we manage to, what I was going to say, you can be fooled by technology at the moment, audio technology. You can be fooled into believing that that's a real person speaking. And until the day, which will arrive eventually, is when you see an image that's been created by a camera of the future, you will not be able to tell that image from reality. It'll be so good. And that's where it's going with cameras. And if you just get bogged down on, like the stuff that we've got at the moment, it's pinhole in a box technology still, but technology's leaping forward in bounds, and I think in 5-10 years there's going to be cameras that make absolutely amazing pictures, and will make the pictures from the best cameras today look like the first black and white pictures. So I think you've got to have a really open mind and allow the camera to teach your head, teach your mind how to see things freshly.